All right. Hi, everyone watching. I'm Molly Jane, CMC's content lead. I think you've seen me 4 or 5 times over the past 5 days, but I'll introduce myself anyway. Today, we have a panel on NFTs in the creator economy. We have Leon with us from Only One, Zach from Mintable, Luca from Pudgy Penguins, and Cami from the Defiant. Do you guys want to go around and just quickly talk about why you guys are the perfect people to talk about NFTs and the creator economy?
So my name is Leon, founder at Only One, and we're the first NFT-based social project on Solana. Mainly, we help content creators be able to mint their own access NFT passes and have a platform directly to engage with their users directly. So I think creator economy is one of the major vertical that's going to be the focus of NFTs in the coming year. And yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing more with you in this panel.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Zach Burks. I'm the founder of Mintable. Mintable is an NFT marketplace and also a creators platform. So you can create NFTs on Ethereum completely gas-free, no layer twos, no Ethereum or crypto needed. So it's a great onboarding. We have over 1 million different users on the platform. And we also launched something called Mentology, which is a B2B service for enterprise clients or brands to engage their audience with different NFT experiences. That's a little bit about what I do. I've been in the space since 2012 and been an NFT since 2017.
That's a long time. Luca, have you been in the space that long?
I think I was maybe 15 when Zach first bought his first Bitcoin. Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Luca. I'm the CEO of Pudgy Penguins. Pudgy Penguins is 8,888 beautiful, cute little penguins that live on the Ethereum blockchain. We're here to inform, educate, and inspire people to get into Web3. And I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that during the panel.
Great. And then Cami, you have a lot of titles behind your name. So you can talk about just maybe your most recent Web3 NFT ventures.
Yes. So for the Defiant, we've been obviously covering NFTs very closely for the past, couple of years. But I guess more relevant to this panel is that I'm the author of The Infinite Machine and involved in the production of the movie based on my book. And to finance the movie, we have an amazing NFT collection that, happy to kind of talk more about that. But it's an NFT collection celebrating Ethereum and also highlighting 36 artists from emerging countries.
So I know I originally wanted to talk about this in the end, but since you've already started, could you tell us a little bit about how you're actually using NFTs to make a movie? Is this the first time this has happened? And how exactly are NFTs being used in a way that wouldn't be possible with other sort of traditional fundraising methods? What extra oomph does NFT give in this case?
Sure. So it's been an amazing experience and kind of experiment to start. And it's not exactly the first time this has been done. And by this, I mean kind of financing a movie with NFTs. There have been smaller films that have been funded partially with NFTs. But I'd say this is the biggest kind of major feature film that that has been kind of linked with NFTs. So the goal for the Infinite Machine movie is to make a major kind of blockbuster Hollywood type of film, like a dramatized version of the Ethereum story. It's being produced by Versus Entertainment, a Spain-based production company, and Scott Free, which is Ridley Scott's production company. So the idea is to hopefully make it to the mainstream with the Ethereum story. And why kind of NFTs? So I'm involved in production, and that kind of allowed me to have a say in how this movie is being funded. And so when those conversations started, I thought, it really does make sense to bring in the Ethereum community and Ethereum technology into the funding of the movie itself, rather than kind of start with just the traditional funding routes, like VCs and so on. And what this allows you to do is to kind of flip the movie production structure on its head. Usually kind of finance a movie, you write the script, the shooting starts, and there's like this whole kind of multi-year process before the movie is actually live, and there's an audience after that. With NFTs, you start building a community and an audience before that whole process starts. So that's kind of what we've been doing, and kind of it allows you to kind of bring the audience into the production itself. And I think, it's kind of yet to be seen what that does to the movie itself. But I think it has the potential to just, have a more interested, engaged, committed audience that can maybe become advocates of the movie once it's out. So it's been a really kind of interesting learning process. And so the other thing is, NFTs allow the film to be financed with its audience, and they're also kind of access passes to different aspects of production. So the idea is that NFT holders become part of a DAO, and the DAO has a role as an executive producer in the film. So people are actually kind of have a real say on how the movie gets made. And there's like different perks to the NFTs, like some NFTs carry the ability of being an extra in the movie, of getting kind of named in the credits, of being invited to one of the shooting locations, and to be a part of the movie premiere. So it's like these NFTs, besides being kind of giving you the ability of being an executive producer, they're also kind of these like backstage passes to the movie itself.
So do any of you other guys here on this panel have experience sort of being a creator and using NFTs in this way to further your art or your lives?
I actually made an NFT for the first time.
Tell us about that.
It was a great stress relieving moment. And like going through that process, I felt like for the first time I could put like my creative, juice on an iPad, and I minted it, and it was fantastic. But beyond that, no.
Well, then moving on, so some other questions that I wanted to ask you guys about. There are lots of creators that are interested definitely in creating NFTs and sort of using them, like Cami's doing, like Luca, I guess, did that one time. I guess this question is sort of either to Leon or Zach. What advice would you give to creators that, want to use your platform or want to understand how to use NFTs as sort of like that gateway to build their community? Yeah,
I'll give you a few examples, and it actually goes back to Camellia. If I get your DAO pass, if I have the ability to vote in your DAO, I can say, hey, I want Tom Cruise to star in the movie, right? And we can vote on it in the DAO.
Right.
And so that's a utility aspect to the NFT, that as the creator, right, she's giving some access or some utility to her community. And it's these two aspects I think are really important for creators, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, or whether it's an NFT, you have to have a community, and you have to have something that your community is interested in, right? Every YouTube creator has something that they do on their channel, whether it's like gaming or finance or whatnot. And it's the same for artwork as an artist, for your community. When you build that following around your art or your style or the content that you're producing, there's two boxes that you have to check. One is just engaging with that community. Do you have that community? And then two, how are you engaging with that community? Is this valuable to them, right? And so I think that's the most important thing. And that falls into two different categories of either you're a creator and you're an artist, you're a musician, a content creator, whatever it may be, or you're a business. And both of these have the same, well, it doesn't matter what you are. If you're a business or a creator, an individual creator, you still have the same priorities. It's just going to differentiate your path to get to those priorities, so to speak. But that's, most people have to realize they'll either start off in that field of, I'm basically starting a YouTube channel. I have no followers. I got to start that up. I got to get a following, right? And their NFTs are no different. Or they're starting a business and they've got to have a social media following. They have to be able to have a brand and attraction built around that brand. And so I think it's really important that people look at it from that angle and don't necessarily just, put up a few NFTs and hope they sell, right? Because you got to do a little bit of work and build that community.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think I would have two advice for any newcomers that want to start their own NFT collection or to serve their communities better. Number one is I think it's important to sort of learn the current landscape of the cryptocurrency market for NFTs. And I think there's a big distinction between sort of the dream that we're all, looking forward to, which is NFTs representing some sort of ownership towards a community, an artist, and the whole decentralization and the whole aspect of that. But there's also the reality right now, which is I think because of the hype generated in a very short period of time, there's a lot of projects coming out as for lack of a better word, cash grabs, right? And this is causing the NFT communities to become very transactional. I'm sure all of you have your own communities on Discord and whatnot, and most people would come in for the purpose of making money, and they would ask questions like when announcement, when Binance, whatever that is, right? So I think there's when moon, sir. So I think there's still some way to go before I think real NFTs can realize its full potential within the whole creators domain, right? So that's number one. And number two is I think there actually is a small distinction between Web3 projects and content creators. And for example, for Web3 projects, like whether you're a play-to-earn game, whether you're a collection of cute penguins, usually I see that as like a brand, a company, producing a product for their own community, right? And that's kind of a different angle. You could be selling a culture, it could be products and brands. Whereas for a lot of the content creators out there, especially the ones that are still quote unquote in Web 2, they already have their own community way before they even start an NFT. And this might be a fitness community. It might be, Twitch game streaming or beauty or whatever product you're selling, right? And, you're creating an NFT to serve your existing community better. And so to tie those together, I think it's important for you to realize what utility you're actually providing to who. And in our case, as a social platform, usually we're serving content creators. So it's really more about access to their content or access to the creator themselves. And I think recently there's more and more examples of that, where like I'm sure you all have seen Irene Dow. Whether or not that's a very successful project is really up to you. But and also Gary Vee with VeeFriends is all about access to the creators. So I think just learn the landscape and see what your audience are. I think that's a good place to start.
So you guys have brought this up a few times about how holding an NFT gives you access to some sort of real life thing. This is something that I've always had trouble understanding. If an NFT gives you access, to be an extra in a movie, to do a meet and greet with someone, NFTs are inherently, for the most part, tradable. So once you trade that NFT or it's bought and it's sold, how do you deal with that sort of attached real world thing that's going on? I feel like that seems like just like a huge roadblock for me. Do you guys have?
Can I talk on that, Molly? Because
sure.
We're building a solution to this mythology, right? Because it's for enterprise clients, so brands. We've got 3 publicly listed companies with over 50 million users that are using our platform right now, and they have access to NFTs through this. And when we built this for like McDonald's, for like Taco Bell, for Burger King. How could you have an NFT that's a coupon that you want millions of them, that they come in a kids meal, but don't cost 5 times the kids meal? And then how do you have this utility to it? And so what we've actually built from a technical standpoint is, first off, to answer your question, is they're tradable. And so how do you have something that's tradable also give you access? Because once you redeem it, then what? Like if someone trades it, they're going to redeem it again. So the first solution to that is editable metadata. So if you go look at like a Bored Ape, the metadata is not editable, right? It's on IPFS. But you see this all the time with projects where they will still point to a placeholder before the reveal, and then they edit the metadata once it's revealed to have the actual attributes, and then it's permanent. So you can do the same thing with the company. So Starbucks, or let's go to McDonald's actually. So McDonald's gives you a kids meal NFT. You get home, you get this NFT, it's a free NFT, and it says, oh, you get a free kids meal. So when you go to McDonald's the next time, when you enter a code, their POS system, right, their point of sale system, is going to call our API essentially, and it's going to say, hey, this NFT is it valid? Is it owned by who it says it's owned by? Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Let's redeem it. And then let's change it to, it's got a little thing that says redeemed on it. Maybe it's no longer transferable based off the smart contract. There's a lot of different functionalities that you can build into a system like this, but that's an important aspect. There's also another problem too, which is attaching physical items as well to NFTs. That's a whole nother issue in and of itself. And there's many people trying to solve that as well. We're not trying to solve that. It's too hard. But these are issues that we have to overcome in the NFT ecosystem to get to that next level of adoption, right? So you do have hundreds of millions of people using NFTs and there's utility behind them. They're not just investments or PFPs or artwork, but instead they could also be membership passes, literal passes for your gym, right? You saw the project where you can open a door with your NFT and it was a smart lock, right? And so that's really cool use cases of an NFT. And that's some utility that I think as the ecosystem matures, you'll see a lot of companies be able to start doing more of that.
So I'm just looking at audience questions, but I'll go back to my next question. I think this can be for Luca. So we've talked a lot about, bringing NFTs to the mainstream. You are working on Pudgy Penguins, which is arguably a relatively big NFT collection, I would say. How are you working to use Pudgy Penguins to make NFTs more known in the rest of the world? Or is that not even your vision for Pudgy Penguins? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a huge part of our vision, right? And you look at the nature of the IP, and one of the things that really appealed to me with Pudgy Penguins was how unintimidating they were and how net neutral they were, right? Whether you're Black, white, or Asian, you can resonate with a penguin. Whether you're male or female, you can resonate with a penguin. And I think this gives us a unique opportunity to really create a story and content behind these penguins that can bring people in from the masses. I mean, you look at Warner Bros., you look at Marvel, you look at all of these top studios and these top brands. How do you kind of create a legacy brand to bring people, from, one area to another? And in this situation, we're kind of working backwards where we have an IP that we know is magical and that people resonate with. And now the issue is how do you create content, products, and a story that people can get behind? And so, I think with what Pudgy Penguins is doing is a huge part of that is I feel like we have a unique opportunity to really, as corny as it sounds, but bridge that gap because of the nature, right? It's like really hard to segregate against the penguin. And with that, I feel like we have a unique opportunity to, bring in that younger generation, bring in, women and men alike so that they can, congregate and socialize with one another in a very special place. How we plan on doing it is I feel like how every brand would probably do it, right? Like product integrity is above all else. Like create a product that people love. Well, we have an NFT and people love it, but what other utility can you provide to holders and to people who are not necessarily in the ecosystem? And how can you bring them in a very, smooth and harmless way, right? So that people are scared of Web3 as we stand. They don't really understand it. And, how can we create something that educates people, that gets people excited the same way that you would, a Marvel movie or a Disney movie? And it's not necessarily to lean into the fact that, we're making movies, but the thought process is the same, right? Like, how can you create a product using the IP that people can fall in love with, that people can interact with, whether that's a piece of content, whether that's a toy, whether that's a piece of clothing? How can you put those? And then once you create that product, how can you put it in the places where, people who know nothing about Web3 can see it? And so it's a multifaceted approach. But the hard part, in our opinion, is already done in terms of creating a magical IP that resonates with people. And now it's a matter of just creating these products and putting it in places where, the unknown are and make it known. So that's kind of our approach. And it's, relatively the same approach that you would do with any other company or any other IP is, above all else, it's customer experience. And then it comes product integrity and then marketing. Right. And so we're in a unique position because of the IP where I feel like there isn't any place we can't go. And over the coming months, we have a lot of interesting partnerships and places in which, the exposure of the Pudgy Penguins will be shown to the world. So I'm excited for that.
It's so interesting that with NFTs, I see this traditional Web2 model really being flipped on its head, where you start with a community that's interested in some sort of image or idea. Like, okay, you have people who really fall in love with these cute penguins, and that's kind of the starting point. And then kind of you figure out what can be linked to that. Where in Web 2, like it's like the product or the content is first. Like you create a cartoon series or a movie or a toy, or like the product is first, and then you have people who like that, and the community comes after that. So I don't know. I think I think we're still early and figuring out whether what works and what doesn't. But it's just interesting how things are flipped.
And the beauty about that, Camilla, is the interesting part is, typically in Web 2, you kind of start and you hone into your idea and then you dictate the future. But what's beautiful about this is we kind of have like this ever-flowing orb that the community kind of helps dictate and structure how that looks like. Right. Typically, if I came into a business and let's say Pudgy Penguins wasn't a Web 3 company, I would come in, make a toy, push a toy, and I'd be laser focused there. But, because it's Web3 and there's, holders and investors and people that are part of the community, they can vocalize, opinions and suggestions that will completely dictate, or help dictate what you do moving forward. I know me personally, I did, a week straight of just talking to the Pudgy Penguin community when we first came on. And, so much of my initial vision shifted based on the conversations that I had with the holders and the investors. And that's the beauty of it, right? Mm-hmm. It's almost like you can take in, because it's strength in numbers. It always has been, right? The more bright minds in a room, the more likely that your product is going to be successful, and you'll think of a genius idea. Well, in this situation, all of your holders are your bright minds, right? So all of their suggestions and their opinions, as long as you listen, which I think listening is really important, it can help shape the direction of where you push this. And at the end of the day, they're the people buying it. They're the consumer. And, if you're in a consumer-based business as an entrepreneur, like your duty is to create a product that your consumer wants, right? And I think that's the beauty of this. It's going to completely flip the whole entrepreneur business creation model. Like in the next 10 years, it's going to be a completely different landscape. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, like the line is being blurred between user, audience, and creator. It's like everyone is a little bit of everything. It's
like one and the same now. It's like one giant entity. It's a beautiful thing.
So leak some alpha, sir. Leak some alpha for the huddle. I want to know what's the secret sauce plans coming up.
I'll tell you this: we have some amazing announcements in the next couple weeks that I'm really excited to share. And part of what Molly kind of alluded to in the beginning is like, how are you going to bring people on? Well, kind of like Camilla and I just spoke about, it's a team effort, and that doesn't mean necessarily within the huddle, but how can you bring other companies and other partners on board to help bring it to their audiences, right? I think a huge initiative for us has been partnerships. And, developing these strategic relationships, people already have other communities and other fan bases, and integrating with them, and creating a product that both fan bases love is going to be a huge part of, the success of, where an NFT project goes and what is successful or not. And it's been a huge initiative for Pudgy in specific, is how can we bring, other, trusted brands that might not necessarily be in Web3 and create, a Web3, Web2 product that everybody can enjoy. And then slowly but surely create that familiarity, not only in the space, because the Web3 space isn't that big. If you're building a company that's specifically catering to, Web3 folks, unfortunately, the market's not that big there yet, right? You've got, you would know better than I, Zach, but what, 3-4 million people in Web3, if that, right? You're not going to create a legacy brand just leaning into 3 or 4 million people. You could, but that also is like segregating, what we want Web3 to be, which is, something that hundreds of millions, if not billions of people use. And we as project owners have a responsibility to bring these people on, right? Like if it wasn't for NFTs and it wasn't for, people leading the way and, the Yuga Labs of the world and, what we're doing at Pudgy Penguins, like, we're going to be the groups of people bringing these people on, and taking, a cute little picture that they might see on Instagram or Twitter, and then, get them excited about, financial independence through, art and creating your own stuff. And so, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but this is the beginning of a bottom-up economy, right? Right now, from a creator standpoint, it's a top-down one. You have the CEOs, the executives, and the companies, and, they'll give you advances and, weird deals that will completely squeeze the juice out of the grape and kind of leave the creator hanging. I mean, this is a basic human right that a creator should be able to, monetize off of his creations at a high level and not have to struggle and not have to, be financially impaired. It's really important to me personally, and I'm pretty sure everybody on this panel, that Web3 succeeds. Like, it's just really important because this is what's going to help people. And we've leaned on creators for thousands of years to entertain us, to, satisfy us, to, please us in whatever regards to their creations. And they've always gotten the short end of the stick. And finally, a technology has stepped in and completely wiped this paradigm clean and shifted it on its head. And the executives don't like it, but, the masses do. And so beyond that, every step that I take, and I'm sure everybody on this panel is just like, I'm doing it for the sake of Web3 and making sure that this space, thrives with hundreds of millions, if not billions of people. And hopefully, we can be at the top of the totem pole when it's all said and done. But if not, at least, we brought people onto this amazing space, which I think is the most important thing.
So we have about 4 minutes left. I just wanted to ask, just to throw it to Leon at only one, and just get your opinion a little bit on what everyone's been saying about like how to encourage creators to use NFTs, maybe some drawbacks you've seen on your platform with people, are struggling to learn this new technology.
I think one thing that we can all agree is that we being here and the audience that are watching, we are super early to this space, right? In order for us to see mass adoption like we do with things like Twitter, I think there needs to be a lot more development from the infrastructure standpoint and user experience. Like, to give you an example, like we've been onboarding creators from Web2, so that's us trying to do our part to bring people in. And there's this one DJ specifically that came from Coachella recently, and we wanted to onboard him to our platform, which is a social platform, but it still requires a lot of things like Phantom Wallet for Solana blockchain. I had to hop on a one-on-one call with him for about 1.5 hours just to teach him everything to do with, okay, so this is called the blockchain and this is a transaction and so on. And for a lot of them, it's actually quite a challenge. So if you're asking me what is a bigger drawback for NFTs, I think it's user experience. Right now, in order for you to, and on top of that, I think there's a lot of vulnerabilities. Especially recently on Solana, like I've seen quite a few of phishing scams and people not sure how to keep their wallet safe. And that's why I see some projects like Audius, right? Like they developed a wallet called Hedgehog Wallet, where basically you put in your email and password and it hashes that into a private key, which represents obviously your account. So for a user standpoint, it feels like you're using a Web2 application with email and password. So I think that's the kind of stuff we need to see more and more adoption in the space. And also for people to really learn about the benefits of NFT. And, Cami, Zach, and Luca has described a lot of different very beautiful things about NFTs, whether it's connecting people or it's like funding a movie or it's like getting to the masses like Starbucks. I think there's a lot more possibilities to come. And for us as only one, it's kind of like OnlyFans on blockchain, but we're not catering to the specific category yet. But it's all about getting content creators here, being able to produce exclusive content for their communities that hold their NFTs, and they can do that all on the platform, easy and fast.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining. This was actually the first panel I moderated this whole time. Really, really great. Hopefully I'll see some of you in person in a few weeks. And if not, I'll see you guys around the Web3 space, I'm sure.